Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of our Joy Comes in the Morning Self Care Challenge. I am so happy that you're back again another day. Yesterday, we worked on our challenge was to kind of reframe the way that we think about self care. And I wanted us to come away with um, seeing self care as a good and something positive and nothing to be ashamed of or feel guilty about. And we even had St. John Paul II telling us to take care of our own needs. So I hope that you have been able to kind of take a look at how you feel about self care, and I hope that it is now a positive view. Today, what I want us to do is to focus on evaluating our needs. In order for us to really practice self care, we have to be in tune with what we need. So, so I would like to say that we have three categories of needs. The human person is a body soul composite. Um, so we have physical needs, and then the soul is um, kind of simply just the intellect and our hearts, our spiritual, the deepest part of ourselves. So our needs are physical, mental, having to do with our mind, our intellect, and then spiritual, our hearts, our souls. So we have needs in all three of these categories. And ideally, we want to practice holistic self care. And that's not really a term, I just kind of made that up. But holistic meaning, nurturing the whole person. All three of these areas need to be nurtured for us to thrive, for us to flourish. Um, so, what I want to do today is take some time to evaluate what our needs are in these areas. Sometimes one part of us, will really have top priority for needs being met. Like after the birth of a baby, the mom is super exhausted physically. She's not sleeping. She may have had a difficult pregnancy and childbirth. So for someone like that, really rest and nutritious foods and just lots of sleep and hydration and showers when you can. Those are the kinds of things. Your physical needs are dominant after the birth of a baby. So during different parts of our lives, different times in our lives, we have certain areas that need to be nurtured in more ways than others. But sometimes our needs are more subtle. Like we might not see obviously that this is going on with us and we need to take care of this need. That has been true for me. One time that really sticks out in my mind when I had to have some help recognizing my need for self-care was after the birth of my third child. I was going through round 3 of postpartum depression and anxiety, and my husband was on the night shift at a new job, and I had a newborn, and it was pretty horrific. So I had hit pretty rock bottom with my mental health, but I was still trying to do and be all the things, take care of my 2 toddlers and the newborn, and cook and clean and do the errands, keep the household going. And I just would crash and burn. For some reason, I didn't have a good concept of what it meant to take care of my own needs. And I had this idea, like what we talked about yesterday, that a good mom needs to put herself last all the time. And it took my depression and anxiety coming to reaching pretty epic levels for me to take a step back and say, oh man, I've got to start implementing some self-care here before a crisis happens. And so I took the step to call a therapist and began weekly counseling. And that was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life for self-care. So sometimes our needs are more subtle, and we may need to enlist the help of those who know us well, to kind of help us to evaluate what's going on and in what areas we could really use extra self-care. Um, so recognizing our needs is something that can take some work, but we have to know what we need in order to practice regular self-care that is actually effective. So for today's challenge, I want us to kind of look at these three areas, these three categories of needs, and to come up with a couple of things that that we see as deficits in our self-care. So for me right now, I know that I have a sleep deficit. And the remedy for that is for me to take care of myself by, trying to nap regularly when the baby's asleep, or putting myself to bed earlier at night, not, looking at social media till 11 o'clock. It takes some self-discipline, but really to make sleep a priority. That is one of my biggest needs right now. So for you, ask yourself, what do I need physically right now? Do I need to eat better? Do I need to sleep more? Do I need to exercise more? Do I need to exercise less? Am I current on my physicals? Am I healthy? Am I working towards a healthy body as best as I can at this time in my life? Ask yourself what your body needs. And then do the same for your mind and your soul. For your mind, for me, I crave intellectual stimulation. Reading Brown Bear, 531 times in a row is not cutting it. I really need something more than talking to my kids all day. I crave adult interaction. My intellect wants to be stimulated with intelligent adult reading. So keeping good books around is important for me. What is important for you? What does your mind need? Maybe your mind needs a rest. Maybe you're a working mom who gets home every day and your mind needs to unload. Whatever the case may be, kind of come up with the deficits in your mental health right now. Do the same for your soul. What is your soul longing for right now? What do you need to refresh your soul? Maybe throw in another mass every week, or a holy hour, every other week, or maybe you need a daily rosary, or some just quiet prayer time to read the gospel every day. Whatever it is, kind of look at yourself, and evaluate what's missing in your self-care, and then write those things down, and then take a few minutes to write down what the remedies for those deficits would be. So the remedy for feeling disconnected from the Lord is what? Maybe spiritual reading or a holy hour, things like that. So for today's challenge, to evaluate the needs that we have in each of those three categories, our physical, our spiritual, and our mental needs, and then to write down the remedies for those needs, what we would need in order to nurture ourselves where those deficits are. So that is the challenge for today. Take it to prayer and ask the Lord to help you. Ask your family members to help you kind of see what your needs are, and you can come share your thoughts on our Facebook page if you want. Write them in the workbook that I emailed you, or keep them in your journal, whatever it is. Take that time to really kind of look at your life and your needs, and then we can work on goals and a self-care plan in the days to come. Okay, moms, as always, reach out to me if you have questions, or if you just want to connect. You can reply to this email or come over on Facebook, and I hope you have a wonderful day. God bless.